What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to a surprise Saturday video with the Record Spinner. And in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing my acquisitions from this year's 2024 Record Store Day. So first off, happy Record Store Day to everyone out there that made their way to their local mom and pop record store and showed their support, even though technically you are supposed to show your support on any given day. But needless to say, the big draw for Record Store Day as a whole are the exclusive releases that are made only available in limited quantities at mom and pop retailers, and it's always the big hustle of lining up early and in hopes of getting whatever is on your want list for your collection. I didn't really comment on the list for this year, but I kind of felt that it was a bit of a standard list. No real huge, gigantic titles really popped out. But of course, it had your general contenders of who often gets represented every year for Record Store Day. But there were some really cool things on the list that I thought would be really cool to have. And I'm very happy to say that I basically got my hands on everything that I was after except for one release. And when you watch this video, it's going to be shocking that, wow, Dylan, you didn't get your hands on this release given how much you love the band that this particular drummer was in. Do what thou wilt with that information, but I'll explain it in a little bit. But anyways, I got a nice little stack to get through, so enough of the chit-chat. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Record Store Day 2024 finds. So starting off with an artist that always gets represented every year for Record Store Day, and that is, of course, David Bowie. And this is called Waiting in the Sky, subtitle, Before the Starman Came to Earth. So this right here is an early rendering of the Ziggy Stardust album, which dates back to around December 1971, so a whole 6 months before Ziggy got released. And it's kind of like an alternate album / rough mix of the tracks that were worked on up around this period. So of course you do get tracks on this that did appear on the final Ziggy album, such as 5 Years, Soul Love, Moon Age Daydream, Ziggy Stardust, Star, Hang On To Yourself. But you do also get some tracks that did not appear on the final album, such as Round and Round, which was a B-side around that period, Amsterdam, another B-side, Holy Holy, which is actually a re-recording of one of Bowie's early singles from around 1970, Man Who Sold the World era, Velvet Goldmine, another B-side, and of course the track list in running order is all kind of jumbled up too. So it's kind of an interesting portal into the world of the Ziggy Stardust album, and it's kind of fitting that they chose this particular release since there is the Rock and Roll Star box set coming out in June. So this is really, really exciting. And also, I think this is the first time in a while that there is a Bowie release that has such a widespread appeal, since the Ziggy album is probably Bowie's perhaps his best album, most beloved. So it's cool to see a Ziggy-related release. Now, the printed inner sleeve here does have scans of the Trident tape boxes, which obviously reference the rough mix that was done around the time. So you have that there. Record itself, standard black vinyl, comes on that sort of modified RCA label there, where it says Bowie instead of RCA. Now, this is a RSD exclusive release, and it is limited to 8,000. Kind of an astounding quantity amount, given Bowie's widespread appeal and, of course, how everyone loves the Ziggy record. But if you're able to get your hands on this for a respectable price, you're lucky, and if anything, definitely snag it for yourself if you see it out there. You won't be disappointed, I think. This is a really, really cool one, and one of my favorites for this year. Now, moving onward with the big one that I had kind of referenced, the one release that I was not able to get. So I managed to get the CD version, and of course, I am talking about Eric Carr, Unfinished Business. Of course, Eric Carr was the Fox. He was the drummer in Kiss from 1980 to 1981. And kind of coming off of the heels of the Rockology release that came out a couple Record Store days ago, they went ahead and put out this one, which is called Unfinished Business. And it has basically just other tracks that exist around his sort of solo demos and such. Now, there is an LP version which lights up in a box with like glowing eyes, as you can see, which references the Creatures of the Night cover. But I did not have any luck securing a copy of that. But since there was a CD version as well, I went ahead and got my hands on that. However, I did manage to secure a copy from Germany, which you will hear about in my next vinyl haul video whenever that does come in from Germany here to the US, and I'll explain the ins and outs of that. So it's kind of on its way, but in the spirit of Record Store Day, I managed to get the CD version. And of course, as you can see, it does come with a sort of Japanese-style obi strip, nice, glossy, thick jacket, really nice quality too, I have to say. There is also an insert here, which kind of has a sort of track-by-track commentary, as you can see. And there is also another poster, kind of similar to the one that appeared in the Rockology release. The disc itself comes in a nice printed inner sleeve. Cool photo of Eric on the sort of drum tank riser from the Creatures tour. Here's a cool shot of him without makeup. And of course, it does come on this sort of mini LP replica CD, and it's even black on the opposite side. So that's pretty cool. Now, the CD version of this is a RSD exclusive, and it is limited to 1,500 copies. So I will say a little bit of a letdown that I wasn't able to get the LP version domestically, but there is something coming that I will showcase in my next haul. But I'm glad I got the CD though. Now moving onward with a release that I thought was kind of fitting for this particular Record Store Day, since it does fall on April 20th, which for any of those that partake in the sacred herbal type, this is a very fitting release. And that is Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. This is the soundtrack to the ultimate stoner flick, and I fucking love the gatefold, how it has Cheech as Alice Bowie, and then you have Tommy Chong with the freaking gigantic drumsticks. If you haven't seen the film, you have to. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've seen it, but it is such a good watch. And of course, keeping it in line with 420, it comes pressed on sort of smoky green colored vinyl. And this is another RSD exclusive, limited to 5,000 copies. So I figured get in the spirit and get my hands on the soundtrack to a very, very funny flick. So I got that. Moving on to another artist that is always represented every year for Record Store Day alongside Bowie. I feel like in all my RSD videos I reference the sort of same artists, but I do have to say the management of this particular band is definitely pulling out some stops when it comes to what they're putting out for Record Store Day, as well as in general. And that is The Doors live at concert set, September 20th, 1968 in Stockholm. Now, this right here is a radio broadcast recording recorded in Stockholm during The Doors' only European tour, which took place back in 1968. These shows and recordings are often legendary. I had a bootleg of one of the sets from these shows, but this is actually freshly mixed by Bruce Botnick, and they went ahead and gave it a proper release. So this is coming off the heels of releasing the Matrix tapes, the Bakersfield show, the Paris Blues recording. So it seems like Doors management is really clearing out the cupboards with some highly coveted stuff that I think fans are really itching for. Now, this is cool because it has two shows. There's an early show and a late show. But what I find interesting with this particular live release of The Doors is the track list and the choice of tracks that they played. So it opens up with 5 to 1, which is really cool. They do a version of Love Street, which there aren't many live recordings out there of that particular track. There's also a couple of bits of Celebration of the Lizard, a cover of Mac the Knife. There's Your Lost Little Girl, Wild Child, which appears on the Soft Parade. And then, of course, you have, Light My Fire, The End, What else is on here? Backdoor Man, Alabama Song, all the typical Doors stuff. But this is absolutely really, really solid. Does come in a triple gatefold sleeve. You have some liner notes from the Doors archivist, some scans of newspaper clippings, and photos of Jim Morrison, which is really, really cool. And this 3 LP set comes pressed on sort of light blue colored vinyl. Nice custom center labels there. Now, according to Record Store Day's website, this is an RSD exclusive, and it's limited to 6,000. But if you look in the back, and this I think accounts for worldwide units, it says that it is a limited edition of 11,500, and this is copy number 4,664. So, of course, I got the vinyl version, and because I am a little bit of a Doors completist, I also got the CD version as well, and the CD version is limited to 8,000. So, slightly more technically, according to RSD's site, than the LP version, but kind of same deal. Triple gatefold, photos, liner notes, and same contents on CD. So, very happy to get my hands on that. Getting back into Kiss territory, next up is a picture disc, and that is of Ace Frehley's 10,000 Volts. This is his latest album, which came out a couple months ago. As if you did not have enough vinyl variants of 10,000 Volts, if you're a Kiss collector, you're aware that this album has numerous colored variants as well as jacket variants and such, but they went ahead and did a picture disc version. And honestly, I love this album enough. It's a major grower. I think it's Ace's best album since the 78 solo record, that it was worth having a third copy. Yes, it's a third copy. I'm not as OCD as some of the other crazy Kiss collectors out there, but I got my hands on that. Now, what's interesting is that the standard album that you can find anywhere is a gatefold and everything. This is a single pocket jacket, and it does come with an insert, which has the lyrics as well as some photos. There's a download card as well. Plastic sleeve holds the LP. And then here is the front, which of course consists of the front cover. And then on the back, we basically have the gatefold artwork represented here. So that's there as well. So overall, pretty solid to have another Ace Frehley Record Store Day release in my collection. And this is an RSD exclusive, limited to 1,750. So quite limited, this one. And it's cool to see some Kiss representation for Record Store Day, but yet shocking that Kiss themselves have never done a Record Store Day release. What's up with that? But glad to have something in the vein. Now we get into some Beatles territory. This particular album that this EP focuses on is actually getting a big reissue later on this year in the form of a remix and a possible box set and such. And that is John Lennon, the Mind Games EP. So on this you have ultimate mixes of Mind Games, I'm the Greatest, which does feature George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and Klaus Voormann. Amazing, I'm Sorry, and then you also have You Are Here, which is an outtake, take number 5. So you have a nice sort of little primer to warm you up to that big reissue when it does come out. Now, according to Record Store Day, this is an RSD first release, so we might see a standard run. Quantities are unknown, but there's 2 variants. There's a black version, which I didn't get, but the one that I got is on glow-in-the-dark vinyl, which if you subject it to the light and then you turn the light off, the effect will really kick in. I'm sure this is bound to be a very noisy pressing because glow-in-the-dark vinyl doesn't quite translate too well. But needless to say, when it comes to Beatles solo careers, I love John Lennon stuff, and I figured this would be a cool piece of John Lennon vinyl to have in my collection, as well as glow-in-the-dark vinyl as well. So that's really cool. Then we go back, essentially, not really 10 years, but we go back into the 60s with an album that's actually kind of hard to come by in decent shape. So it's cool to see this get a reissue. And that is The Monkees, The Birds, The Bees, and The Monkees. Friday Music put this out, continuing the line of mono Monkees reissues. They've done the debut, More of the Monkees, Headquarters, Pisces, Aquarius, and now they're doing this. And of course on this album you have things like Tapioca Tundra, Daydream Believer, Valerie, Zoran Zam. So I have been needing this Monkees album in my collection for a long time, so it's cool to see Friday Music pull out the goods for this Record Store Day first release, which is limited to 2,000. And this comes pressed on, it kind of, I'm going to go as far as to say it's like a red salmonish colored vinyl, and as you can see they do riff on the Cola Gems label and they put the Friday Music name on it. As per usual, they kind of riff on the original labels of, you know, whichever album it originally came on. So very glad to have this missing piece, or I should say missing link, see what I did there, of Monkees vinyl in my collection. And then we go 80s, 90s glam metal. Don't you love the variety in this haul? Next up is Motley Crue, Supersonic, and Demonic Relics. So this right here is sort of their odds and sods kind of album. We have a bunch of offcuts and outtakes. There's tracks that appeared on the Decade of Decadence compilation. There's one from the Quaternary EP, which came out around the John Corabi era, as well as a live version of Dr. Feelgood and some other tunes. So it kind of brings it all together. Now, this is one I was kind of contemplating on getting because this is marketed as being a Record Store Day exclusive release, limited to 2,500, but it is a picture disc. Actually, I'm not lying. It's not just the Ace Frehley release. It's also Motley. This has been pressed unofficially on colored vinyl. And typically speaking, I think I would be more psyched for this release if it was on colored vinyl. But if Record Store Day is going to stick to its promise of it being an exclusive release that won't get repressed, I mean, who really knows at this point, then I can say that I'm glad that I bought this. But yeah, picture disc exclusive, I suppose. But needless to say, if you're a Motley fan and you need to kind of fill in the sort of gaps in between the studio albums, then having this particular compilation will fulfill your fix for having everything else that exists in the cupboards of Motley's vault. So got my hands on that. Moving on with an interesting choice of a 7-inch. This is the only 7-inch that's being showcased in this haul, and that is Queen's Cool Cat. Odd choice of track to be released as a 7-inch. I think it is only because this song was featured in an Amazon Prime commercial, so I guess they saw the means of releasing a 7-inch for it. It does come with this track, Cool Cat, on the A side, as well as an instrumental version on the B side. Of course, the track is from the Hot Space album. Generally not one of Queen's finest records, but if you like the song in the commercial, you have a 7-inch. Now, this is an RSD exclusive, and it is limited to 2,000 copies and comes pressed on pink vinyl there. So, I'm a Queen diehard. I had to add it to the collection. So, got that. And also, I like the silver inlays where the members' faces are. Nice bit of deluxe effect there. Really cool. Next up, another band that's often represented every year for Record Store Day, and this is one that I'm really excited about. This is the Ramones and the 1975 Sire demos. So, of course, this is the demo tape that got the band signed to Sire Records. These demos were released on CD as part of the self-titled debut's 40th Anniversary Deluxe Edition, which is like a 3 CD, 1 LP set combined, but they decided to put the demos on LP in their entirety. Some tracks have appeared on other comps, such as I Can't Be, I Don't Want to Be Learned, I Don't Want to Be Tamed, but you have demo versions of things like 53rd and 3rd, Chainsaw, You Should Have Never Opened That Door, What's Your Name, Today You Loved Tomorrow the World. So really great early Ramones recordings. Nice black and white photos of the band. I love this shot of the band on the subway, and there you see Johnny with his Mosrite guitar in a shopping bag since he didn't have a guitar case. I just love that shit so much. I did have a bootleg of these demos, but I parted ways with it when I heard that this was coming out. This is an RSD exclusive release, limited to 6,000 copies, and it comes pressed on clear vinyl with black splatter, which looks really, really sick. So happy to get my hands on this. And then moving on with one of the classics, of course, the Rolling Stones live at Racket, New York City. This is the sort of album launch show that the band did for the launch of their newest and latest studio album, Hackney Diamonds, which it's funny that I have this, and yet I still don't have a copy of Hackney Diamonds in my collection. It's gotta change. But this has that album release show on here. You get tracks like Angry, of course, which was the main leading single off that record. Bite My Head Off. You get some early classics like Shattered and Jumpin' Jack Flash. Sweet Sounds of Heaven, which does feature Lady Gaga singing live with the band, since she does sing on the album version. So it's a cool sort of release to have. Does come with a sort of replica set list, which is pretty cool. Nice insert as well, printed inner sleeve with track lists and photos. And this is an RSD first release, limited to 7,000 copies, and it comes pressed on white vinyl, which is pretty cool. So cool to have some more modern Stones live material in the collection. And then moving onward, we have another sort of live-ish release, which honestly, I guess to most people it might be surprising, since I don't really talk about this band too much. But the particular era that this recording is from is my favorite of this band. And that is Talking Heads live at WCOZ 77. This, I believe, is a radio broadcast of the band, and this is right from that period of the first and second records of Talking Heads, which is that's my sweet spot when it comes to them. So to have a live release taken from that period is really, really solid. And some tracks from this radio session do actually appear on the live album. The name of this band is Talking Heads, which is referenced on the back. It tells you what tracks came from the record, but this is the first time that the whole recording has been released in its entirety. And this is a 2LP 45 RPM pressing, RSD exclusive, limited to 8,000 copies. So figured I'd add a little bit of variety that's kind of outside of the usual wheelhouse, because I do really like Talking Heads, and I'm still kind of beefing up my Talking Heads collection, but those first two records for me just sell me entirely. So very happy to get my hands on this. Going back into familiar territory with another live release, and that is Thin Lizzy live and dangerous at Hammersmith, November 16th, 1976. This right here is one of the shows that was recorded for the Live and Dangerous album back in the 70s. This is from that box set, which has several shows that were recorded for the album. And so if you're a fan of Live and Dangerous, you get a full undoctored show here spread across 2 LPs, which is really cool. Now, this is marketed as being a RSD first release, limited to 4,500. It's on black vinyl, but we have some cool printed inners here of Phil Lynott, Scott Gorham, as well as Brian Downey and Robert Robinson right there. So really good stuff. So happy to get my hands on some more live Thin Lizzy, since there was also that UK exclusive Record Store Day release, which I gotta hunt down at some point. So I'll show that off if I ever get my hands on that. But very happy to get my hands on this one. Then we get into compilation territory with The Story of The Who. Now, this compilation came out around the 70s. It is often regarded as one of the finest Who compilations, and believe me, there are a lot of Who compilations. But honestly, between, 2 LPs, it does cover a lot of ground in terms of the early singles and all the rock opera stuff with, Tommy as well as Quadrophenia. So it is all right here. So this is a really cool comp to have. Of course, there's a pinball to reference Pinball Wizard. And what's cool about it is that it does replicate the original artwork, which does have a booklet instated inside of the gatefold, which is pretty sick. And this 2LP set is pressed on both sort of marbled pink vinyl for the first LP, And then the second LP comes pressed on sort of marbled light blue vinyl, which is pretty cool. And there you can see the pinball as the center label. And this is an RSD first release, limited to 4,500 copies. And last but not least, we have, and this is actually one of the releases that I'm kind of excited about, is Yes, Yale Bowl 71. This is a live release of Yes live at the Yale Bowl in New Haven, Connecticut on July 24th, 1971. Features only 4 tracks. You got Yours Is No Disgrace, I've Seen All Good People, Classical Gas, and Perpetual Change. These live recordings appeared on the recent deluxe edition of the Yes album, kind of similar to the Ramones release that I mentioned earlier, where there's like CDs, vinyl, Blu-ray all together with Atmos mixes and things. So it's cool that they gave the live stuff its own separate release, but I also love the design of this particular release. It looks like an old school bootleg with a colored sheet. It actually would have been cool if they kind of just put it in a white jacket and had just a colored sheet like inside of a sleeve or something. I don't know, maybe that's going the extra step, but this is really, really cool. And this is an RSD exclusive release limited to 4,500 copies. So got some live early Yes here. Whew, that was a lot. So there you guys go. That is my vinyl haul of all the stuff that I got from this year's 2024 Record Store Day. Here is my question for you guys. What did you get for this year's Record Store Day? Please drop a comment down below. I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video. And most importantly, keep the records spinning.